and Rodolfo Bolis for the tip. Balo wins it, and Indiana will start. Hoosiers are 1-0 this year after an 80-61 win over SIUE. The Panthers are 1-1, defeated D3 Earlham 97-61 earlier this week. First miss of the game, Malik Renew trying to go inside, and now Zion Fruster rebounds, and RT Stapleton takes it up, the point guard for Eastern Illinois. Here is Fruster. A lot of transfers on this Eastern Illinois team. Fruster is one of them from the University of Virginia Wise. 3-ball on the way is good. Nikyle Shelton from downtown. First 3 points for the Panthers. Shelton averaged 11 points last year. Renew down low for Balo, the Arizona transfer. Turns, finds Mbako cutting to the basket for the two-handed flush.
Well, for Eastern Illinois, they're going to have to double up on Balo with that size advantage, but that leaves a man open, and Mbako makes no mistake.
Career high 31 on Wednesday, the Big Ten co-freshman of the year a year ago. Here's Cooper Jacoby. Bolis, the big man for the Panthers. Curling around to screen Shelton. 6 left on the timer, driving to the basket, couldn't get it to go. Second chance goes in for Jacoby. Fruster got past Mbako, and Jacoby puts it in. 5-2 in favor of Eastern Illinois. Here's Miles Rice, Indiana's new point guard, a transfer from Washington State. Balo, the big man down low, had a great second half. Good kick out, nice ball movement. Mbako tries a 3 and connects. 5 points for Mbako. He is well on his way to potentially setting a new career high.
Well, and it's the same way he started in that SIUE game. He came out shooting early. They gave him opportunities in the first quarter.
Knocked down 4 of 5 from downtown on Wednesday. Now Indiana creates a turnover. Here is Rice. He moves the ball so quickly down the floor, that time gets tripped up. And the first foul of the game. That's where Rice is so dangerous, Alex, in transition.
Yeah, he's got that speed, and that's something that Mike Woodson has been wanting to get from that transfer portal. Some guys that are speedy, athletic, to try and move the tempo a little bit. That's something they lacked last year. It got a little bit stagnant in the half-court offense.
Rice struggled with that pace a little bit in the first half against the Jaguars on Wednesday. Balo draws the double. Quick find inside, Renew for an easy bucket. Malik Renew led the team last year with a shade over 15 points. The junior. RT Stapleton. Now it's Shelton. He tries another one from distance. That time it's off the mark. Renew skies for the rebound. We're going to see Renew take the ball up the floor much more this year. Here's Carlisle on the curl off the top of the backboard, and it goes out of play. Caden Carlisle, another transfer from a former Pac-12 school in Stanford. Struggled a little bit from the field on Wednesday, just 1 for 5, but that is his shot from the mid-range, especially curling off a screen.
Going back to the last possession by EIU, trying to work those screens, try and find things from outside the arc. That's where they're going to really have to find most of their success.
Here's Culley, the Evansville transfer, and he traveled as he was trying to hand the ball off.
And I think you're going to see Culley get plenty of opportunities in this game. He's a guy who's come off the bench for most of his career, but he is the tallest guy they've got available, and he's still 2 inches shorter than Umar Balo. They're going to really need him to bang around the post.
We talked to Marty Simmons earlier this week. He said positioning is going to be so big, and that time Balo couldn't get inside on Culley, but instead gets the right-handed hook shot to go, and it's 9-5 Indiana. Stapleton now at his 5th different school. Nice crossover move on Rice. Turns at the block and throws it up. Ball is deflected, and Rice will send it ahead, trying to find Renew, but it's taken back by Culley.
Great recovery there.
Panthers will get a second chance. They'll try a 3-ball, and it's good. There is Zion Fruster. He made 33s last year, although he missed the final month of the season due to injury. Carlisle trying to respond. In the air, gets it out to Rice. 9-8 Hoosiers lead over the Panthers, 4 minutes in. Balo now to Mbako, 11 on the timer. Trying to get it back to Ballo. He does that, and he's fouled before the shot, so it will not count. And Umar Ballo will go to the free throw line.
Due to time constraints, we now move ahead in the action.
Was the first major conference player in the last decade to have 9+ assists in 17 minutes or less. There goes Frooster to the basket against Tucker, but couldn't get it to go. Good defense from Bryson Tucker, the freshman, and now he'll bring the ball up the floor for the Hoosiers. Galloway down low to Renew, through the double team and scores.
How about that, a little up and under action around the two players. It was a great feed from Galloway, even better finish from Renew.
Renew up to 8 points in this one. Eastern Illinois trailing by 2. Jacoby goes to the basket, spins to that left and scores over Renew. Cooper Jacoby on the All-OVC preseason watch. Spent 2 years at Toledo, won a pair of MAC titles, redshirted as a sophomore, and someone who played at Silver Creek High School. He's from Sellersburg, Indiana. Mbako down the lane, he goes and he scores again. Mackenzie Mbako, he can beat you from beyond the arc and he can beat you to the basket as well. And the sophomore has looked great in these first 2 games.
It's the variety of shots, Austin, that's been the most impressive. Shooting it from deep was something we all knew he could do coming in as a freshman, but the ability to drive, take the mid-range when he has it, that's really the evolution of his game.
Another 3-ball on the way from Shelton. This time it was short. Ball batted around and Galloway can take it up the floor with some speed. To Goody, the Illinois transfer. Trying to knock down his first 3 of the year. That one was a little bit short. And the rebound into the hands of Obadiah Curtis. Curtis the other way, lost control of it, and Tucker swipes it away from him. Tucker ahead to Mbako, a little bit ahead of him, and that is an Indiana turnover. Margins are slim when you're trying to get the ball ahead, especially with a double team like Mbako had. And here comes Gabe Cups into the game as Mbako checks out.
Getting a bit frenetic over the past 3 or 4 possessions either way. Both teams trying to push the pace and just losing the handle.
And halfway through this first half, it's 22-20, so both offenses are looking pretty good. Here goes Stapleton to the basket, may have been blocked by Galloway. Tucker the other way. Stapleton trying to get back in position. So Cups and Galloway alongside Tucker. The guards in this set. Still no Anthony Leal for Indiana, out for the 2nd straight game. Renew picks up his dribble, finds Galloway cutting the basket, kicks it outside. Goody a corner 3, he got it. Goody's first 3-ball as a Hoosier, the fist pump, you knew that one felt pretty good. Fort Wayne native, went to Homestead. Shot it at 39% last year with the Illini, gets his first with the Hoosiers.
When you're a sharpshooter and you're struggling to find your shot, it really hurts you, and then to be able to finally find it, that's got to feel awfully good. And that's what they need off that quick ball movement to kick it into the paint, then nice out to Goody.
Stapleton missed the 3 there. Goody again, dribbling left, gets in the air, tries to feed it inside to Tucker, but it was taken away by Stapleton. Ahead to Olafioye. And now back with Frooster. Frooster getting a screen from Jacoby. Couldn't handle his dribble, and now Cups takes it the other way. Bounce pass to Galloway. Got it to go. What a clever up and under, and Eastern Illinois needs a timeout. Jacoby driving on Langdon Hatton, who's now in the game. Kick out, corner 3 is good from Frooster. Shot it last year at 37%. Frooster's got a 3 in this one. Galloway driving the other way. Ball finds its way to Tucker. His shot was short from mid-range, and then Goody with the foul on Shelton.
due to time constraints, we now move ahead in the action.
Timeout. It'll be Panther ball. Cooper Jacoby, Indiana native, out to Stapleton from Chicago, and that time an offensive foul. It is Culley on the screen as Carlisle was trying to get around it.
Culley came in hot there and almost just wedged Carlisle between him and his point guard. A tough situation to be in when you got a 6'10" forward running right into you.
Practically turned into a Carlisle sandwich there. Here's Rice, Mbako off a screen. It's Rice, Renew, Carlisle, Ballo, and Mbako for Indiana. Ball the alley-oop for, rather, that was Renew, and alley-oop for Ballo is just a little bit above his reach. Shelton already has 15 in this game. He played well against Illinois. He scored 16 last Monday. Here's Frooster with the long two. That goes down, and Eastern Illinois up 31-30. It's been back and forth here in this first half.
Well, after seeing what SIUE looked like when they came here, I really like what the Panthers have got going there with their three guards between Stapleton, Frooster, and Shelton.
Indiana trying to answer Carlisle, looking for the foul. Ballo, second time of asking, puts it up and back down. Shelton and Frooster have combined for 23. Stapleton has added 2 as well, so 25 of Eastern Illinois' 31 points have come from those 3 guards. Here is one of them, Stapleton. Boley's down low trying to find a cutting Stapleton, who got it back as both Carlisle and Ballo ended up on the floor, and Stapleton gets his second bucket of the game. Rice the other way, he lost control of it, but Ballo is there. Final 2 minutes and change in this first half. Rice got it stripped away from Stapleton, trying to take it coast to coast. The bounce pass to Frooster. Rice tried to contest, couldn't get it to go. And the basket is good, and a timeout. Eastern Illinois had 6 guys in double figures in the 36-point win on Wednesday. And so far it's been so good for them, as Shelton and Frooster both into double figures already. Exactly 2 minutes to play. Hoosiers trailing 35-32. Against the Panthers. Indiana shooting 58% of the team. Eastern Illinois at 60. Galloway had an option for a 3. Lob to Renew. Renew working on the right side. Baseline. Finds Mbako for a 3. A little bit short. Indiana's missed some 3s short in this game. Stapleton the rebound. He's going to want to drive quickly. Carlisle got out of his way. Created an easy floater. And another one in for Artise Stapleton. He's up to 6. Nice pass inside for Ballo from Carlisle, and Indiana quickly responds. Boy, this pace has been frenetic so far, Alex.
Yeah, it's been teams that want to just keep pushing the pace. Neither want to slow it down, and that's a bit of a different story for Indiana and for Eastern Illinois. That's what they came here with the intent to do, is try and speed this game up and use their advantage.
Stapleton will try a long 3. That wouldn't go. And Mbako and Renew fighting for the rebound. The junior grabs it over the sophomore. Galloway calling for it. Has plenty of room. There's a signature floater. He gets it off the glass and in. (37-36) the lead. Galloway has 4 points in this one off 2 of 2 shooting. Zion Frooster being guarded closely by Mbako. Frooster likes the matchup, but hands it back to Shelton, and Nikyle Shelton trying to go around the screen, but that time Boley's knocked over Galloway, and another foul on the screen from the Panthers gives Indiana the ball back.
Another one of those screens outside the arc for Eastern Illinois that sent it the other way. That's what you want to try and have that screen to work off of for your shifty guards, but Boley's and Culley just unable to get themselves set.
There is a 9/10 difference between shot and game clock, so Indiana will hold for the final one. Trailing by 1 against Eastern Illinois in their second game of the season, the 17th ranked Hoosiers. Dealing with a fight right now from the Panthers. Galloway waiting from the screen from Ballo with 8 left. Closely on the double team. Carlisle's going to chuck up a three. That wouldn't go. Rebound into the hands of the Panthers. A half-court shot is late and a little bit to the right of the target anyways, and that will do it. Now the Panthers moving from left to right. Stapleton bounce pass and curling. Shelton fires one up and gets the roll. Kyle Shelton up to 17 points. And it's a 3-point lead for the Panthers. Indiana's got to find a way to slow him down, especially off the pick and roll. Shelton loves curling off the screen and firing that mid-range. Follow feeds to Miles Rice. He pulls up from the free throw line himself and connects.
You can see a lot of those screens and shots off of them from these two teams.
That is Rice's first field goal. It's now up to 3 points. He sent plenty of freshman year records at Washington State last year, including points, field goals, and free throw percentage as a foul on the other end of the floor. Bowles goes down and struggling to get up. He's holding that left foot or ankle area, slamming his fist on the ground in frustration as he and Carlisle got tangled up.
He came down awkwardly, and Carlisle, as he was falling, was trying to ease the fall a little bit, but again, just maybe turned his ankle just a little bit on the way down. It's so hard when you've got the jumble of bodies coming down for boards.
Bowles, the senior forward from Brazil, played on the Brazil U15, 16, and 17 teams in the South American Championships. And for the first time, Eastern Illinois will go to the free throw line as Bowles head over heels right near the tunnel. And the challenge here for the Panthers and RT Stapleton is to shoot it into the student section with now free fries on the line if the opponents miss both free throws. SIUE missed their first two. And Stapleton, no fries this time, knocks down the first. And gets treated with that, a shower of booze.
Well, you don't want to deny college students free stuff, especially free food. You've got to be prepared for the consequences of doing so.
Stapleton, 8 for 12 last year from the line, 2 for 2 in this one. Panthers lead back up to 3. Culley came in for Bowles. Indiana's got their starting 5 on the floor. Culley went to the ground, but Jacoby picks up the basketball. Bounce pass to Culley. Clever with his right to get around Carlisle and finishes. The Evansville transfer averages 2 points a year. Culley from Sellersburg, Indiana, from Mali. And speaking of international guys, there is Ballo, another guy from Mali. Lays it in with his left, and he's up to 13.
Once again, it was a turnover that led to those 2 points by Culley. For Indiana, they got to be more sound with the basketball. There was a man on the deck as well. They had the player advantage as well and still somehow found a blue jersey.
There have been a couple guys that have struggled so far. At times it's looked like a slip and slide more than a basketball game. Frooster back out to Stapleton. 6 on the timer. Good defense here from Indiana. Here is Shelton with one left. Hoists one up. Couldn't get it to go. Followed the rebound for the Hoosiers. Rice moving in transition. Rice to his left, all the way to the basket. Lost control of it. Bounce pass out to Renew. Now to Mbako, right in front of the Indiana bench. Drives baseline, high off the glass. Couldn't get it to go, but was fouled. And Mackenzie Mbako, Indiana's best free throw shooter last year, will go to the charity stripe.
And Indiana really need to try and get his name back on the score sheet. Had those 5 early points at the very beginning. Obviously, we've already talked about his game against SIUE. But when you talk about dynamic offense, a guy who can really create things when he's got good assists around him, proven scorer, you got to be able to look to him on the outside because you can't always run it through the middle with Renew and Ballo.
And Baco knocks them both down. Perfect 3 for 3 on the air. He was at 82% last year to pace the Hoosiers. Panthers led by 1 coming out of the half. They currently lead by 1, 2.5 minutes into the second. Stapleton lost control of the ball, and he traveled in the process, picked up that plant foot. A lot of guys have been going to ground here. Managers have had their work cut out for them, mopping up the floor, and that time a little bit of a double team, a little contact, and it was just enough to send Stapleton over.
Yeah, it looked like he just got his foot caught up there and just enough to go uneven.
Carlisle to the corner for Renew. A little bit too strong. Frooster skies for the rebound. Zion Frooster had 10 first half points off 4 of 6 shooting. That time he turns it over, and Baco, ball was rolling on the ground. He picks it up. Balo down the line, kicks it out. Now it's Rice. Pump fakes, tries a second chance at a 3. That wouldn't go. Renew gets the offensive rebound, trying to go back up with it. Couldn't get it to go. Third time he scores, and the foul. Third time's the charm for Indiana on that possession.
They had a bit of a wry smile on that third time of asking. It was a scrum in the paint. But again, Indiana has that size advantage, able to show his strength in there, Renew, to put things around.
6'9", 232. Muscled his way to the basket. Now we'll get a chance to finish off the three-point plays. Indiana's on a 6-0 run. Make it 7-0.
But I think as well, Austin, the pace in which the Hoosiers ran that transition, being willing to kick it to that corner to try and find Rice, even though he doesn't make the shot. That's the kind of decision that I think is a change in the philosophy of Indiana from last year to this year.
Indiana came out with a press on this possession, potentially trying to slow the Panthers down. And they do get a stop on this possession. And Baco up the floor, has Renew, who's calling for it, and he's got the two-handed flush. One down.
We now
that
move
ball
ahead
was
in the
blocked
action.
by Curtis. There was a foul in the middle of that, but Galloway went for the poster. Curtis said no, but got a little bit of Galloway's wrist as well.
I went through the left arm, it looked like, to try and block it. See the confidence there from Galloway. He's done that in transition several times, but to do that off the jump says, give me some space. I'll go right to the rack.
Galloway knocks down the first free throw. First time at the charity stripe today. Galloway was just 53% last year at the line. Bolies comes back in for Jacoby. Yeah, the size advantage, really seeing that in this second half. Just look at the way Balo towers over Bolies. Bolies at 6'8", and Balo a 7-footer. Galloway's second one is up a little bit short. And Baco trying to grab the rebound. Ball goes out of play. Both teams looking for the possession, but it will go back to the Panthers.
Yeah, that's the difficult thing for Eastern Illinois. They don't have a ton of height, and the guys that they do have that are taller, Bolies, for example, Cully, they're not necessarily scorers, which makes it really difficult to put multiple of them on the floor at the same time. The guard play is really what moves their offense. But unless you want to throw two guys who are more defensive-minded, it can be very difficult.
That ball went off of the foot of Shelton. And you mentioned the pressure it is on those three guards to score. And certainly the pressure mounting for Eastern Illinois as their deficit increases.
Just 10 points from outside of those three, Stapleton, Shelton, and Frooster, who combined for the rest.
And Kale has 2 off the bench, and Jacoby has 8. Luke Goody in the corner. Now to Bryson Tucker into the lane, pulls up. Can't knock it down, and Baco grabs the rebound, puts it back up and in. 6th offensive rebound for IU on the day, and they're now leading by 17.
Looks like they took to heart what Mike Woodson said after that SIUE game about not getting beat on the offensive glass, especially Mackenzie and Baco. Again, that hustle to come in from outside to get the board.
Great defense from Galloway and Balo. And Bacco ahead to Goody. Brings the ball down, sees he's behind the line, fires, and connects. Luke Goody for three, his second three-ball of the game. Indiana's lead now up to 20. Frooster trying to respond. Can't do so. Tucker the rebound. Galloway, clever pass. Goody on the other side. Can't get it to go. Ballo couldn't bring down the rebound as Tucker went up for it. That three went in. I feel like they would have brought the house down.
Well, that's what Goody brings. A guy who's a sharpshooter and can really step into his shot. That's the same shot he was practicing in pregame warmups when we were here watching. It was step in, shoot, catch, shoot. Very quick release, and we saw it there on the make and then the miss.
And Bacco checks out to a warm round of applause. Here is the Goody three that did go in. Ballo knew it on the other end of the floor. Put his hands up in the air. And Goody with that celebration. Last year off the bench, averaged just 6 points, but shot the three ball at 39%. As he gets the steal here, ahead to Galloway, clever pass to Tucker! Defense to offense, just like that. And Indiana's lead in the blink of an eye has gone up to 22.
My goodness, Austin. First the steal, the little clever flick on pass essentially from Galloway to find Tucker, and the freshman, it's his turn to jam one home. Just look at that, just a little tap almost on the side, no look from Galloway, and then Tucker getting up there.
70-48 the lead. Whatever that message was at halftime from Mike Woodson clearly worked. I don't know if it was a halftime snack that worked either, but whatever it was, Indiana has responded quite well. Ballo gets the rebound. Rice directing traffic ahead. Finds Goody. He tried another three. That one wouldn't go. And Shelton comes down with the rebound. Goody's got plenty of IU history in his family. His uncle Trent Green played 12 years in the NFL. Ironically, his cousin Ben Skoranek won a Super Bowl with the Rams a few years ago as a receiver. And his father Craig was a two-way football player at IU for 2 years. Recorded one touchdown in 1996, and he credits former IU player Matt Roth, who has trained him since 8th grade. So a true homecoming for Goody from Fort Wayne, went to Homestead rather.
Well, that football heritage, I'm sure he would have enjoyed the game yesterday over at Memorial Stadium, just a little bit to the west of us.
A little bit of a quick turnaround from last night's game, which started at 3:30 and definitely dragged on. Rice gets all the way to the basket and scores.
And Austin, this is an Indiana team. It feels like when they get their confidence, the possibilities are endless for this team. They were playing a little bit off balance in the first half. Another tie-up on the other end. They scored as many in this period already in 12 minutes as they did the entire first half. But once they've gotten things going their way, the confidence to step into a three from Goody in transition, to drive to the cup if you're Rice. It's just when they get their confidence going, it clicks.
It has clicked so far in the second half as Ja'Kai Newton checks in for the first time as a Hoosier. The redshirt freshman underwent a knee procedure last August, leading 72-48. Remember, this Eastern Illinois team lost 112-67 to Illinois. There's another dunk from Tucker. Another feed from Galloway. How about that for an alley-oop? And Tucker shows that he's got some hops.
How about another Bryson Tucker? He's already got one, hadn't gotten his fill yet.
Galloway with 5 points and 8 assists now. He has been dynamite for Indiana as a co-captain. Ballo gets in on the fun with a block on the defensive end and gives them the Mutombo no.
Again, Austin, it feels like Indiana, when they get that little bit of momentum, the swagger starts to show a little bit. The finger wag from Ballo, the Goody three-pointer in celebration on the other end. Bryson Tucker getting a chance to show his athleticism on dunks. Once it clicks, Indiana finally getting in gear.
A bunch of different guys getting in on the fun. Indiana has 19 bench points. They really struggled with that on Wednesday. Jacoby Ran out of time on the shot clock. It's a shot clock violation. Indiana has really turned things up defensively as well. They've only allowed 11 points in the first 13 or so minutes in this second half.
And again, it's good positioning. They've been playing tighter around the perimeter and not allowing those quick shots off of screens that EIU was able to use so often in the first half.
Tucker now up to 8 points. Here's Ja'Kai Newton on the baseline. Nearly stepped out of bounds, but at the last second, got it off to Galloway. He's in trouble with the double team. The ball goes off of Galloway's knee in the end. A good trap by Eastern Illinois, and they'll retain the ball as Indiana looking to apply some press. Stapleton up the floor. He's just got 2 second-half points. Frooster only has 3 himself. Driving into the lane is Stapleton. He got through everybody, but couldn't get it to go. Newton brings down the rebound. His first as a Hoosier. The lob this time, trying to get another one to Tucker. He couldn't get it. Ballo goes back up with it, scores, plus the foul.
Ballo playing mop up in the end, and that's how many times have we seen Umar Ballo, 2 Panthers draped around him, able to still try and get up and get himself to the line with the bucket. His strength is going to be huge when you talk about Big Ten play, when it gets so physical in conference play. Having a guy like Umar Ballo, 7-footer, can fight through contact. He's the kind of guy you want in this conference.
Can't finish off the 3-point play. 1 for 2 today from the line. He was at right about 50% last year. So those metrics holding true again in this game. Frooster tries a 3. He had a good look at it, but couldn't get it to go. Stapleton comes in for the offensive rebound, kicks it back out, and gets it back. Now driving left, refuses the screen, was met by Ballo, who fouled him. The 7-footer running into the 6'3" graduate guard in Stapleton. And it is a shooting foul, so Stapleton will go to the line for 2.
Bit of a mismatch size-wise, let's say.
Both veteran guys. Ballo in his 6th year. As we mentioned earlier, started his career at Gonzaga. Stapleton's first one is up and no good. And now all those hungry students waiting in the balance, pending a missed free throw, is free fries. Stapleton 2 for 3 today from the charity stripe. A lot of pressure on this one. Got it to go. Seems like there are a lot of hungry fans in the stands, Alex.
Well, again, it's a college town. They're always hungry.
Newton trying to get it to Ballo, nearly lost control of it, but picks it back up. Here's Gabe Cupps and Carlisle driving. And Carlisle gave himself a little too much separation, dug the elbow right into Frooster. And that's an offensive foul on Caden Carlisle, his 2nd. Carlisle 0 for 4 from the field today, trying to create some offense himself, but used a little bit too much of that elbow and gets called for it.
He's a guy who, his defense is the part that really talks, but will need to find a little bit more on the offensive side. Again, you mentioned has not scored, struggled on the offensive side in the first game as well. Just needs to find his footing.
Here's Stapleton, now Frooster. And now into the game is Gerbovich. Pass it inside. That shot wouldn't go from Jacoby. Down on the floor is Shelton. Gerbovich tried to go back up with it, but Ballo said no. Stapleton grabs it, can't get the layup to go. Indiana in transition. Gabe Cupps looking for the lob for Carlisle, who couldn't get it to go. Went all around the rim, just wouldn't fall.
This crowd, you wouldn't know what the scoreline is in this game. Every single offensive possession, the lob, you can hear the bated breath as it goes in the air.
Here's Carlisle with it now for Tucker. And Mike Woodson wants to call timeout. Nearly bumped into the official there. Langdon Hatton checks back into the game. The Bellarmine transfer. Only 2 minutes for him thus far. Carlisle knocks one down from downtown. Camden Carlisle, his first 3-ball of the afternoon. Shot exactly 100 of them last year, knocked down 32 at Stanford. A honorable mention on the Pac-12 freshman team list. Stapleton trying to respond, and he does. R.T. Stapleton, quiet in the second half so far, but now up to 12 points. He's in double figures as 3 starters for Eastern Illinois have at least 10. Here's Tucker driving right, pulls up, mid-range J is pure. How good has Bryson Tucker looked in this game? He's up to 10 points, 5 of 7 from the field.
Again,
Indiana up 29.
Again, he just looks comfortable, Austin, out there, able to just go in there, take that tough mid-range jumper. Doesn't feel like he's a freshman out there.
Gerbovich feeds it back to Olaf Fioye. 6 left on the timer for Stapleton, guarded by the opposing number 2 and Gabe Cups. 3 seconds left, trying to bounce it inside. Newton got his hand in the passing lane, and Cups can bring it the other way. Cups and Newton both looking for their first baskets of the game and for the season. Newton looking for his first basket as a Hoosier, missed short on that occasion.
You want to know how this game has gone and how Bryson Tucker is playing in that transition. He was looking expectantly for an alley-oop attempt on that transition. Every single time his eyes are looking up, he's waiting for it.
Frooster guarded by Newton. 3-ball on the way from Olaf Fioye, off the mark. Newton skies for the rebound and gets fouled. Indiana is in the bonus in August of 2023, has worked his way back, and it's supposed to be an important piece for Indiana off the bench. Indiana has just so much more depth at the guard position this year. Newton misses the free throw short, and Jacoby grabs the rebound.
And again, Newton's one of those guys who was touted as one of those athletic speedster kind of guards that they now have more of with guys like Miles Rice, but he was kind of the first of that bunch when he came in, but because of the injury, has been made to wait one more year.
Only one starter, and Camden Carlisle out there for Indiana. Foul is called on Tucker, and I believe the basket is going to count. No, it's not. They're going to wave it off. Regardless, the Panthers are in the bonus too. So it's going to be a 1-and-1 here for Cooper Jacoby. 53% last year from the charity stripe. Graduate forward, misses his 1-and-1 short. And Tucker grabs the rebound. Tucker 10 points and now 5 rebounds as he picked up that foul. Newton will get his chance at a straightaway 3. Off the mark, Hatton back up and in. Langdon Hatton, his first points as a Hoosier, averaged 10.5 last year at Bellarmine. So now Newton and Cups, the only guys that have come into the game for Indiana that have yet to score. Ballo, Renew, and Mbako, 17, 17, and 18 points apiece. They have paced Indiana in this one. Jacoby's 3 is a little short. Ball gets knocked out of bounds. It'll be Indiana basketball with 96 seconds left. And this one is Indiana closing out on a big non-conference victory. And there is the tap-in from Hatton. His first points in the cream and crimson. Hatton at 6'10", 247 from Georgetown, Indiana, now a senior. Tucker baseline back out. Carlisle's 3 is off the mark. It won't count. There was a whistle beforehand. Blocking foul called on Isaiah Griffin, a sophomore guard from New Jersey.
And again, it was Tucker who is getting a chance to continue to get that sustained bit of play. Something that Indiana has done a bit more of under Mike Woodson is you come in as a freshman, if you showcase in the preseason what you can do, you're gonna get your minutes. And Tucker has impressed in the preseason and is starting to impress here in the regular season.
Both teams with 9 fouls, so it's still a 1-on-1 situation as Tucker knocks down the first. as the Panthers essentially clear the bench. Tucker knocks them both down. Up to 12 points for the freshman. 4 guys in Indiana for double figures, 3 for the Panthers. Here's Griffin now running the floor. Griffin all the way, and a blocking foul is called on Gabe Cupps, who jumps up and down and has a huge smile on his face, grinning from ear to ear. Not in agreement with the call, and that puts Indiana over the limit. It'll be 2 shots. And you can see Griffin's holding on to Gabe Cupps' leg. That's maybe why Cupps thinks the call didn't go his way.
Was pushing him out towards the outside, but yeah, again, it was a tussle that went both ways in the end, and Cupps didn't have much of anything on him outside of just showing him to the outside.
Griffin knocked the first one down. Was 12 of 17 last year from the charity stripe. Averaged just under 3 points, had 12 points on Wednesday against Earlham. Second one is up and good as well. A ton of transfers on this Eastern Illinois team. Experience is something that matters for Marty Simmons, guys who want to be coached. It goes beyond just what your ability on the floor, it's off the floor as well. A minute left here at Assembly Hall. Carlisle tries a straightaway 3 and connects. Kanan Carlisle with his second 3-pointer of this half. He's got 6 points. Indiana's lead is at 34. They trailed by 1 at halftime and have put 52 points in the second half so far. Looking for more here. Cupps gets the steal, going the other way. Gets to Newton. Thought about a mid-range jumper instead to the basket, up and under. How's that for your first points as a Hoosier? (90-54) in the final 20 seconds or so. Panthers will probably get off one more shot. Terry McMorris, the freshman forward into the game, got fouled, and he will go to the line for a pair. How about this drive from Newton?
Goes under, puts the English on it, and you can tell what it means both to his teammates and to the crowd who were wanting to see Ja'Kai Newton last year, the teammates that know what he's been through to try and get back, and finally able to get on the score sheet. That's got to feel good for him, but again, for all the people around him that have been waiting to see this moment finally.
Yeah, when you're rehabbing for essentially over a year, that's a big weight lifted off the shoulders. McMorris got the first, can't get the second. And the fans who maybe were a little bit spoiled by getting free fries on the first time of asking on Wednesday against SIUE are gonna have to wait on some French fries, but they're not gonna have to wait much longer for Indiana's second win of the year. A dominant 90-55 win, a tale of 2 halves. Indiana wins the second half 54-18, and the 17th ranked Hoosiers take care of business and win this one by 35, Alex.